here's the thing. I want to bring up a couple points here. Senator Mike Gravel said this in his most recent book. He said, part of the problem in our society that a lot of people overlook is that we, the people, don't realize the power that we do have. Now, that's not saying that the game's not tilted. That's not saying that the game's not rigged. That's not saying that we got a big boulder ahead of us. But what that is saying is that, but there's a lot of things that were put in place in this experiment via the Declaration of Independence in particular, where there's actually a lot of stuff we can do. And if we really, go after it and don't give up, there's going to be some concessions. And I think you're an example of this. You've chosen a lane and you've done well in that lane. And your lane was, wait a second, this is supposed to be the beacon on the hill for the entrepreneurial spirit and for the small businesses. It's not. That's actually a facade. But we actually have the right to this information. We have the right to get what we're told we're supposed to get. So I'm going to dedicate my work to making that a reality. And you've seen some concessions. So where is there hope? Where is there, some lanes where people can actually start to turn this tide?
All right. I was going to somehow send this to Joe Biden. I actually was going to start a website, Lloyd Chapman's advice for Joe Biden. And I've been thinking about this. Okay. So here's some solutions.
All right. So pretend I'm Joe. Here,
all right. Hi,
Joe. Do you want me to not look at the camera so it'll be more convincing?
Be Joe. You be Joe.
Do you want me to be like, come on, man?
I would say, Joe, you have to realize something, bro. You're going to be a one-term president. You're not going to be reelected.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man.
So you have an opportunity to do things that no president, has ever done because they're trying to get reelected. You're not going to even be running probably. So,
you want to do push-ups? We'll do push-ups right now. Go vote for the other Biden.
I'll do it.
All right, now continue with your advice. I'll stop the character.
The first thing that Joe Biden needs to realize is he's got cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance means you will reject all evidence that's inconsistent with what you want to be true. Anyone that's been in Washington for 47 years, they're confused. They,
I think he rejects confused. Any evidence that contradicts what his owners tell him is allowed.
Exactly.
And that's not unique to him. That's pretty much, that's 99% of politicians.
Yeah.
Probably higher than 99%. But
I'll tell you something. I've had some interesting experiences in my lifetime. When I was younger, I was very active politically, and I met Bush Sr. when he was president in the living room.
Did he tell you the Copperfield joke?
No. He actually knew my father. My father and Bush Sr. Were involved in the Harris County Republican Party in Houston, Texas back in the 50s. So he knew my dad. So I talked to him in the living room of the president of Chevron back when he was president, right? And I, because of my relationship with Barbara Boxer, I met Bill Clinton several times and talked to him.
What was
and
he
I've been
like?
all over Washington. The most charismatic, engaging person.
Well, they gotta be. Yeah,
ever walked the face of the planet.
It's so fun. I mean, someone. I'm not going to say who it was, but someone once said to me, when we were talking about Hillary, they're like, you'd really change your mind if you met her, and it's like, well, of course, they're going to be charismatic and engaged. I mean, that's part of the gig. Like you have to be but you have to kind of see beyond that and really try to. And I've actually had. Have you had this problem? Do you walk away from it feeling like, oh man, it really is this bad? Because one of the things that have radicalized me, one of the big things, have actually been the peeks under the hood that I've had, where I've met, some higher up people in the political sphere, and I think I wouldn't want this person to feed my cat while I'm away, let alone run anything. The system really is, because we have a completely corrupted system where mediocrity is not only rewarded, but mandatory.
Yeah. I'm going to get this back to my solutions, but I'll tell you a story. I have a story that I think you'll like. So I'm at this dinner party at the president of Chevron's house, and I think there might have been 30 people when Bush was president, and I got to go because I knew the person that was putting it on. I got to go, right? And Bush is talking to these people, and these people are super rich. The president of Chevron, those kind of guys. And he told a story. He said, I'm sitting in bed one night with my wife reading the newspaper, and she starts crying. And I asked her, honey, what's wrong? And she said, George, I was at a hospital today where babies are born with AIDS. And you've got to do something about that. It's just really horrible and da-da-da-da. And he told us what he told her. And he said, he told her, there's not enough money for everything. You've got babies that are being born with AIDS. You've got veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, that were injured and need our help. And he said, the hardest part about being president is to decide who gets the money, the AIDS babies or the World War II veterans, right? And it was very profound to hear him say that. And then a few years later, I met Bill Clinton in a fairly small surrounding, and he was talking, and I came to realize both these guys are very charismatic. Sure. They firmly believe their position, right? I mean, they're right there. Politically, they're diametrically opposed, but they're true believers of their position. They're both very charismatic, right? And they're very passionate. When you hear those guys talk, by the way, Clinton. I saw Clinton one time at the, was it the Fairmont in San Francisco? He was talking to a group of maybe like 300 people. I would say 90% of them were crying. He was incredibly
great. Of course, they're great. I mean, Obama was a fantastic speaker too. Yeah. But first of all, I mean, I would say, yes, one has a D next to their name, one has an R next to their name, but the Bushes and the Clintons, really not that different politically.
No.
Both keeping up the neoliberal wet dream. Yep. And, that story, I mean, I like that story you highlight because I think it just summarizes everything that's wrong with politics in like one story. Because, that sounds like a very nice story that like leaned on ethos and pulled the heartstrings of people while simultaneously being complete and utter bullshit. We don't have enough money for everything. Yes, we do. Yes, we frickin' do.
Good point.
We absolutely do. You're just not interested in actually helping people. We do have enough money because, guess what? The money can be created. We create it. We're a fiat sovereign nation. So, we do have the money. We totally have the money. And if we just utilize even the existing resources differently, we still have the frickin' money. We have the frickin' money. Wall Street is worth an estimated quadrillion. We have the freaking money. We had it then. We have it now. He's just not interested in doing that because then, you know what? Those rich people at his dinners, they might have to concede a little bit. They might have to actually pay their fair share. You know what would happen after they paid their fair share? They'd still be freaking rich, but they still don't want to do it, and nobody's making them. So it's like, oh, that's a nice story, and it's completely full of shit, and probably never happened. I doubt his wife ever read some article and cried. Maybe it did. I don't really care, but it's complete bullshit.
Yeah, it could be a story he made up to appeal to his big contributors. Those people in that room that night were rich. All right, let's go to solutions, okay?
Let's do it.
All right. So if I were the president, the first thing I would do is eliminate all the fraud in the largest economic stimulus program for the American people in history, the Small Business Act. That law mandates that a minimum of 23% of all federal spending go to small businesses. Well, that's a great idea, right? Small businesses are where most Americans work, most of the gross domestic product, like 90% of the net new jobs. Today, from all these lawsuits that I've won, as opposed to the 23% required in the law, it looks like small businesses are getting maybe 3%, right? So the first thing I would do if I were Joe Biden is end all the fraud in federal small business programs. In fact, I would increase it from 23 to probably at least 30, maybe even 35, right, percent to small businesses. The other thing I would do is, so we've got 30 million small businesses that are the heart and soul of our nation's economy. And there's one agency in government to help them. That's the Small Business Administration, which administers the 23% small business contracting program and all small business loan programs. That agency's annual budget is $700 million. The Pentagon loses about that much money every day, right? The Small Business Administration budget should be at least 10 billion. By the way, Trump has cut the SBA budget every year he's been in office. So after the coronavirus pandemic hit and the big economic downturn hit, he still proposed cutting the budget for the Small Business Administration even, further. So we're going to. By the way, the other thing I would do would be, I think we need to look at the budget for the Center for Disease Control. This is going to happen again. I believe one reason this happened is because the CDC budget was only $11 billion. So the Pentagon budget is, I think, close to $1 trillion when you look at how much they really spend. So you and I and everyone out there listening and watching, we don't have to worry about getting killed by terrorists. We got to worry about dying from heart disease, cancer, the coronavirus, all these other diseases. And so the federal agency that's there to protect us from our real enemy, which is disease, has a Mickey Mouse infinitesimal budget of $11 billion, while the Pentagon budget is over $1 trillion. So I would shrink the Pentagon budget a little bit, and I would increase the budget for the SBA and the CDC, because this is going to happen again, right? It's going to happen again. And we're having all these problems because we weren't prepared for it. We weren't prepared for it in any way, shape, or form. And we need to put our money where the real enemy is, which is disease. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. And yeah. This is why, here's the thing. It's like, this is how systemic change can feasibly happen. There's different people that have chosen different lanes. You're the small business guy, the real small business guy, not the fake one. I wouldn't be able to be the small business guy. That's not really my lane, but that's your lane. That's your lane where it's like, when people say, when the government tells you they're actually supporting small businesses, it's a bunch of nonsense. And I'm here to make that an actual reality, because that's part of the American dream that we're sold. We're sold this American dream where it's like, if you got a dream and you got the will and you got the drive, you're going to get a fair shake. Well, that's not true. That's not true. But maybe it could be. And that's why you're the small business guy. Someone else is the climate activist, hopefully more than one person. We actually need a lot of people there. Someone else is Medicare for all. Someone else is, whatever, pick an issue. There's a lot of them. One of the things I'm a big proponent for that I try to be active on as an individual is the case for city-owned internet, municipal broadband. I try to push for that in different parts of the country. So I feel like that's especially important, man. And I wish you all the best. Where can people go to learn more?
Oh, you can go to ASBL.com or LloydChapman.com. Next week, I'm launching Lloyd Chapman's Memory Lane, where I've made videos of all the crazy things that have happened to me in 30 years of suing the government. And but people should get mad, become small business advocates, and realize that small businesses are where that's the heart and soul of our nation's economy. We need to get behind small businesses.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your